Welcome to my house. Welcome to the Structure Talk podcast, a production of Structure Tech Home Inspections. My name is Reuben Saltzman. I'm your host, alongside building science geek Tessa Murry. We help home inspectors up their game through education, and we help homeowners to be better stewards of their houses. We've been keeping it real on this podcast since 2019, and we are also the #1 home inspection podcast in the world, according to my mom. Welcome back to the Structure Talk podcast. Tessa, always great to see you. How you doing today?
Good to see you too. We made it through one holiday. We're recording this in between Christmas for anybody that celebrates Christmas and the New Year. So good to see you, Reuben. We survived one holiday. We just have a few more to go.
Heck yeah.
And then we're going to be in a whole new year. I can't believe it. 2025.
Yeah. And by the time this airs, I'm pretty sure it will be 2025. This will be one of the first episodes of the new year. And before we get into the topic, though, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors, IEB, Inspector Empire Builder. We have been partnering with them for about half a year now, something like that. They are our official show sponsor. And that's where I met our guest is through IEB. Today, we've got Will Misegades from Redfish Inspections down in Texas. And he and I met each other through some conference, I don't know how long ago, probably about 5-6 years ago. And we've known each other for a long time now. That's part of the power of IEB is all the people you get to meet all over the country. So Will, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Reuben, for having me, and Tessa. I'm doing well. I'm full from Christmas parties, so multiples. And then we enjoyed, our Christmas and family yesterday. So it was good. I'm good.
That's nice.
Awesome.
Very nice.
And I pronounced your name right?
You did. You're one of the few. You did real good.
Okay. All right. I was pretty confident. I didn't ask you before the show, but then as soon as it came out of my mouth, I went, wait, I got that right? Okay.
It's better than misguided, so it's good.
Yes. It's spelled Misegades.
That's it.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And I got the company name right too, right?
You did.
I'm going by memory here. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Redfish Inspections. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is fun. We're continuing on with our series. This is our second year now of interviewing different experts, home inspectors from around the country to talk about their unique challenges with their geographical location in terms of building science issues that they see, or just talking about the differences with housing stock and how that plays into how they inspect and what they look for and the problems they have. So we're excited to have you on today, Will. And can you tell our listeners where you're located?
Yes, we are in Houston, Texas. So we are south of the country.
Okay, Houston, Texas. Now, tell me, this is kind of coastal. Is it hot, humid where you are, or do you also deal with kind of more semi-arid climate as well?
No, it's hot and humid. It's currently 75 degrees out.
Lucky.
Oh. Yeah.
I just got back from sledding with my nephews, so slight contrast. Oh my goodness. Okay, so hot, humid. And, just to recap, shout out to last year we had on special guest John Bolton from Florida to talk about hot, humid climates. And man, is he fun. He's a fun guy to have on the podcast. It took me a second to catch up to his wit, but he's a wealth of knowledge. So we're excited to kind of dive into some hot, humid climate stuff with you today. But before we do that, can you give us a little background on just yourself and your business and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah. How far back do you want me to go?
All the way. What got you into home inspections? Any career or whatever experience that led up to home inspections? How you got into this and what you're doing today?
All right. So I will go back to about my 22nd year on this earth. So I was born and raised in France. I did all my education in France. So my background is construction management, but in France with French climate.
Wow.
And then after I graduated, I moved to Finland and I built log homes there. So I worked for a manufacturing company and we sold our log houses all over the world. Did that for about 4 years while living in Finland. and then became their export manager. And in the process, moved to the States to meet my now wife, while still working in Finland. And I was just traveling back and forth as an export manager.
Oh my goodness. Fascinating background. You don't even have an accent.
Thank you. I worked real hard on it.
I was going to say
No, he
maybe
really doesn't.
the French and Finnish, experience kind of negated the Southern Texas twang, because I don't hear any twang.
So I do cheat. My parents are American, but they've lived in France close to 50 years now. And so I was their first child. So I'm one of 5, and I'm the middle child, but the first born in France. Then I have 2 siblings born in France under me. My 2 older siblings were born in Portland, Oregon. So that's kind of a quick story. But so how did I get in the home inspection industry? When we bought our first house back in 2007. Actually, the process of 2007 to 2008, we bought our first house, and the guy who inspected my house just got me really interested. And 2008 is when the crash happened. And so one day my boss called me up and he said, "Hey, I have to put you on straight commission." And we just bought a house, about to have our first baby. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be put on commission, I'm just going to be my own boss. I'm not going to work for anybody else. And so I was looking for something else to do. And my wife was like, well, why don't you do like a handyman type of job? And I was like, I've been working in the office and traveling the world for too long. I don't want to go back to manual labor. And so when we got our house inspected, and he got me really interested. And that's kind of how I got into it. And I asked him at the end of the inspection, I said, would you take me under your wing? And he flat out said no. And I went,
really?
Yeah. He said, I don't want to train my competition. And I said, well, that's kind of, it's too bad, because now I'm going to become your biggest competitor.
Say, what do we call that in IEB, Will?
It's closed-minded. It's, what's the word?
Scarcity mindset?
Scarcity mindset instead of abundance
mindset.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I had
it's
vowed.
All too common in this industry, I think, too.
Unfortunately. And so I had vowed, and that was before I even knew the industry. I vowed that if anybody ever wanted to get into the industry, had any questions, I'd be an open book.
Love it.
Yeah.
Very cool. You and Reuben align with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so what does your business look like today?
Gosh, so we've had massive transformation in 2024. So in May of this year, Magnolia Home Inspections and Redfish Inspections merged. So we're 2 companies that are about an hour and a half apart of each other. Magnolia is on the north side. We're on the south side of Houston. And Jeremy Lovelady and Mike Lovelady, who own Magnolia, basically approached me. Jeremy called me up because he was an IEB ambassador back in 23, and just to check in with me as an IEB member. And so he asked for my pain points. And, once I started talking, he goes, whoa, let's go sit down at a coffee shop and really talk, see how I can help you out. And after 3 hours of talking, we kind of left. He gave me solutions for my pain points. And then as we're driving back to each other's homes, he calls me up while we're still in the car. He goes, hey, have you ever thought about merging? And I went, not really. I thought about it, but I also knew myself that I don't play nice with other people. And so, especially once we become partners, I will help anybody else. But man, that partnership, I've had family members who've had really bad experiences. And so I really didn't want to go into that. But we just said, with the IB mentality of let's get a conversation going. And if nothing ever happens, if anything, we created a new relationship and we kind of expanded our mind. And so we really went into that conversation of merging very slowly. And we just talked for months just to get to know each other. So between the father, the son, and then me, and ultimately we said, yes, this is a good thing. And so we merged in May of 2024.
Wow. Okay, cool.
So
Does your inspection company, does it offer additional services to just residential home inspections?
we do commercial as well. We do mold inspections. Anything that touches residential, as far as like well and septic and pools and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you do mold and radon and sewer
So we do
inspections too?
molds. We do not have radon in Texas, according to the EPA. So
Okay.
we don't have to test for that. The very few requests we get are typically from people who are moving north down to our area.
Sure.
And like, no, we need, to get that checked out. And we're like, no, there's just no radon around here. And so, yeah.
Must be nice.
We get the same with termites.
Yeah. So we live on a termite mound. So we do a lot of termite inspections.
Sure. Okay. Got it. And so what does your business look like today? Are you still out in the field doing home inspections yourself, or are you spending more time running the business?
Completely we don't even run the business. This is a cool part. So what we did with the merger, really what the three owners wanted was to be completely out of the day-to-day operation. So that was our primary goal. We each had individual goals, but the main focus was, how do we get the owners completely out of the business? And so within this first, since May, we've been working on the leadership team. So we were able to get a leadership team up and running, and they're fully running the thing. They're running the show. So we gave our vision. And recently, we even had the leadership team rework the MVVC, so mission, vision, value, and culture, per IEV. Yeah. And they reworded it to where it fits more, how they want to see Redfish grow. So we have our ultimate vision as the owners, but really we're letting them kind of run the show. And
so now I assume you sit on the couch and watch soap operas and eat bonbons, correct?
And do podcasts and things like that. I have more time for that. The fun stuff.
Yeah. Love
the
it.
fun stuff.
Yeah. But really, we wanted more time for ourselves to create other things. And so, and the other thing is, we don't know any other inspection business that is run as a board of directors. So that's the main difference in the way we run our business. We created a holding company that actually owns Redfish Inspections. And essentially, we have a board of directors with 5 members, and we make our big decisions together.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's very neat. Very neat.
Yeah, that is unique.
Well, how many years were you inspecting out in the field down in Houston then?
So I officially told my staff in September of 2019 that I'm out of the field. So I had neck issues, kind of medical issues, and I was just tired. And I also knew in theory that the only way to grow the business was to work on it, be completely out of the field. But there's that step that's very scary for any business owner, especially when you're bringing revenue in. And my first thought is, and we were working as teams, so we were doing 3 inspections a day, 5 days a week. And so I was like, well, that's 15 inspections that's no longer going to be coming in. So how am I going to replace that? And within a couple of months, I had tripled that, just because I was able to focus on the business, hiring people. And, I kicked myself because I was like, man, I should have done that 6 years prior.
So I want to pause on something you said there. You said, I just clarify, you said that you were working in teams.
Yep.
And you were doing 3 inspections a day, 5 days a week. Does that mean you had more than one person at the house?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So what would you have? 2 people at a house?
2, 3, 4, 5. It depended on the size of the house. So our biggest house, when I was still in the field, was, I would say 21,000 square feet or something like that. Some big house. And I had, I think, 8 people on that house.
Okay.
And we were still in and out within a half day. And
sure.
That's kind of the goal, is essentially the idea was to time block. And so each inspection had a half day, so 4 hours roughly. And so how can I always have that 4-hour window? And so we could have 8 guys on one house in the morning and then split them off to do houses, just 2 teams of 2 guys at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Love it. And I just wanted to clarify that, because nobody that we're having on this series is the type of inspector who's doing 3 houses a day every day. I just don't think you can do a very good inspection.
Not all by yourself. There's no way.
Yourself. And I mean, I know many inspectors who do that, but they're not the people we would invite to come on the show as experts.
So
they're good business owners, but maybe not such good home inspectors typically.
So there's also the fact, remember, like in the South, we don't have basements.
Yeah.
And so that will cut a lot of time out. But
John Bolton said you do have pools, though. Those are your
pools.
basements.
Yes. Yeah. If you dig, you'll have a pool. So, John's going to be in the same boat. There's probably going to be a lot of things that I'm going to repeat, with what he said, probably not with the same wit as you said, Tessa, because he is a pretty funny guy. Very knowledgeable. I love John. So
he said they have 2 climates in Florida, hot, humid, and humid hot.
Yes. So we say hot and hotter.
Yeah, there we go. Hot and hotter.
Yeah. Speaking of John, I just got to throw this out to him if he happens to listen. I got his book in the mail. He's got this new book. It's called How to Be a Badass Home Inspector.
I need to get me one. I need to have him sign it too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I will let him know. I'll let him know. But plug for John's book. How to be a I said it wrong. It's How to Be a Home Inspector Badass. That's the
there we go.
Yeah.
I'm sure his sequel is going to be a badass home inspector.
I'm sure it will be. Yeah.
Well, Will, can you tell us a little bit about kind of the typical housing stock that you have in your area? Like in terms of kind of what a typical house looks like, how it's built, basements, no basements, slab on grade, no slab on grade, wood frame versus concrete block, kind of what you typically see in maybe the age range too. Because I know when we were talking to John, he's like, we don't have anything over like 1940s and 50s. Like that's an old house for us. What about you guys down in Houston?
The age is going to be quite similar. Now, we still have some historic houses that are going to get into the 100-year-old houses. I've inspected a few, but there's so few and far in between that, 40-year-old house and you're getting into a dump, unfortunately.
Really? So prior to like 2020, or actually, I guess it'd be like 1980 and older, you're saying it's going to be not good condition typically.
Correct. Yeah. They're not well kept. Those that are, typically they were really flipped not long prior, and they're not necessarily going to be great flips. A friend of mine said, friends don't let friends buy flips, something like that.
Yeah.
But, and so, they just don't age very well down here between the humidity and then, just the lack of maintenance.
Yeah. Now, and I want to go back to just kind of the types of, the different materials that you'll see typically too. But quick question for you regarding the age of these houses. So if you've got a house that's, over 20, 30 years old, it's got these older systems, are you seeing insurance play a big part of the success of people purchasing houses these days where you are too?
I think it's going to start becoming a problem. So we just had Hurricane Beryl come through Houston, and I just had to replace my roof, 12-year-old roof, shot. I was like, okay.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was just telling my wife, as we were on a walk a while ago, that it's like we're going around the neighborhood and we're seeing all these new roofs. And I told her, I said, 12 years, and it just cost me $30,000 to replace this roof. And it only lasted 12 years. And me coming from Europe, I'm going, how is this even possible? How do we build these houses that only last, certain elements only last, 10, 15 years? And I mean, granted, it went through Hurricane Harvey, Beryl. We've had multiple hurricanes that came through, so that's really going to deteriorate the shingles faster. But still, there's got to be a better way to build.
Now, Tessa and I both want to know what type of material did you have for your roof?
Shingles, asphalt shingles.
Asphalt shingles.
Asphalt. Okay.
And so it needed to be replaced after 12 years. Why?
The granule loss on it. Then, so as the hurricane came through, it uplifted significant amount of shingles that the adjuster came in and said, all right, these shingles are broken. You've got missing shingles here. Lots of granule loss there. Some became brittle as well. So, I mean, the heat is pretty important down here. Once you get into the triple digits for multiple days in a row, then it's just going to be brutal for any material, really. So the roofs do get a massive beating, and 12 years, and I was walking it, and you're starting to slide down. The granules are so loose.
Yeah, starts turning into peanut butter at that point, doesn't it?
It's nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are your typical? What are the typical types of roofing materials that you see in Houston? What's the majority? Would you say asphalt shingles?
Yeah, 95% on residential, it's going to be asphalt. And then the other 5% is going to be clay. Very little clay, really. It's going to be concrete tile.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So did you go back? Did you decide to put asphalt shingles on your house then?
Yeah, because I was looking at the life expectancy and the insurance, is it going to reduce my premiums? It really wasn't. And then they also have a new clause that is the depreciation clause in it. So my roof that was 12 years old, they only gave me 65%, actually, 65% worth of the roof. So they didn't give me 100%. They didn't give me 30,000. So they gave me, really, it was 22,000, but then I had a $10,000 deductible. So they sent me a check for like 12 grand, not even.
Okay.
And I have to replace the roof.
You got a check for 12 grand, and you need to come up with the other 18 grand yourself.
Correct.
Okay.
One of the systemic problems, I think, with just the way that our country works and insurance and everything like that, we're so short-sighted. Like you said, coming from Europe, you've got this perspective. Like, I can't believe a roof only lasts 12 years and then I have to replace it. Like, what a waste, and what a cost to the environment and our pocketbook and everything. It's like, but it's also, it's fueled by this industry that's like not giving you any sort of bonus points or rewards if you're putting on something that's going to last longer. So why do it? Why make that investment?
So you're right. Why do that? And so the cost analysis was, it doesn't make sense to go back to, and then on top of that, so we, in the US, how often do we change homes? Roughly, it's every 7 years. And so why put, in a very expensive, why put a $40,000, $50,000 roof on a house that you might be moving out of in the next 2-3 years?
You don't benefit from it.
You don't benefit from it.
You're not going to sell it for that much more.
Exactly. So, I mean, the housing industry has become commoditized, and so there's no real
incentive
to do something of quality, unfortunately.
I think you nailed it right there. Yeah. So going back to the kind of just describing your housing stock. So a lot of the housing stock, it sounds like, is newer, and the stuff that's over 40 years is problematic. It sounds like. What type of materials do you typically see for siding being used?
The majority is going to be cement board fiber siding, so hardy plank typically, and then brick veneer. And that's pretty much it. You have some stucco. Unfortunately, I would say almost probably 98% of the stucco homes that I've inspected had issues. And so really? I highly do not recommend stucco in the Houston area. One, they don't know how to install it properly, and two, it just hasn't been aging very well. Then on top of that, so unlike Florida, I would say 100% of our homes down here are going to be stick frame built. So we do not have concrete block. I don't think maybe I inspected 1-2 possible homes that were built, in concrete blocks. So between all that movement going on, the stucco just doesn't age very well.
And do you ever get into intrusive moisture testing, or do you have companies in your area that do that?
Yeah, there are companies. A good friend of mine actually does intrusive stucco inspections. So he'll drill and put the probe in there, and
sure.
But a lot of the stucco inspectors that I've worked with, they don't even go from the outside anymore. They just drill from the inside. Like, hey, it's going to be cheaper. They don't have to caulk the outside. They just go on the inside, drill and key points. Yeah, all right. It's wet.
A lot more comfortable. I mean, you're working in a climate-controlled environment.
Exactly.
I can understand why they'd want to do it for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, but there's good money to be done in stucco inspections, intrusive stucco inspections. We just haven't pulled the trigger to do it.
Okay. All right.
Is there any place in the country where stucco is praised and beloved by all? I mean, I don't know if it seems like everyone we talk to from all over the country has their own issues with stucco too. We have problems with newer stucco homes here as well in Minnesota.
Yeah. What about Arizona? They don't have any problems, do they?
There you go. Maybe Arizona, where they don't have any, humidity or a lot of rainfall.
Yeah.
I guess, if they have issues, it's going to be during the installation if the stucco dried too fast. Is going to be my guess. So depending on how they do it. But I don't know. Good question.
Okay. And the majority of your houses are slab on grade, right? Or do you have a lot of crawl spaces too?
We have, so years ago, I kind of outpriced myself for the crawl spaces, mainly because I just didn't want to do them. So we were upcharging like $180 just on if you had a pier and beam foundation. And I was small enough to where I could be picky. It's like, no, I don't want to do them. And so I would say there's certain pockets of the greater Houston area that will have more. So you go out in the rural areas and it's going to be more a pier and beam. But where we are is going to be mainly slab on grade. If you go downtown, the interesting thing is they've started building these 3-4 story houses. So you've got no yard whatsoever, back or front. And it's just straight up 4-story houses right next to each other. And there are a few sections in the Houston area that are pier and beam. But what they've done is they've created this slab with a drain. And then on this slab, you've got your piers and your beams. So it's really nice. Me as the inspector, I go in, it's nice and clean. But, and they did it on purpose because there was so much water always draining down in that area. So they just put it on the pier and beam. So with the slab. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever get a like one of those crawl space crawlers where you get to just roll around in there?
No, again, because I wasn't doing enough, I didn't see the value. So I had, our extension poles with GoPro cameras. I would just, put that in there, put the pole under there if I couldn't crawl.
Sure.
And then, you have all your limitations also. But I've instructed years ago, my inspectors just use your GoPro. Even if you have this much space, like, you're showing
and you're
the
holding
effort.
your hand 4 inches away from each other.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Tiny little space.
Exactly. That just, put that extension pole with the GoPro, take a few pictures. At least we're trying our best to see what's going on under there. And most likely, especially, that it's going to be an old house if you only have that much space. So you are going to find issues with the foundation no matter what. So
do you have a lot of mold issues in these crawl spaces? Do you have ductwork running through them, and with this humid climate that you're in?
That's going to be the biggest difference than other areas like probably Florida or even the Carolinas, where they put everything in the crawl space. We don't. So you'll have your plumbing, your electrical, but all of your ducts is mainly going to be in the attic.
Okay.
Yeah.
That leads me to my next question then. So what are some typical issues you might see in an attic, and do you have a lot of HVAC up there too? And it sounds like yes, you do have HVAC up there.
80%, I would say, of the HVAC is up in the attic. Okay. And the water heaters as well. And it's such a terrible place to put them. And I understand why. I mean, it's real estate. So, if you don't have that in the house, then that's one extra closet that you can have for your clothes.
Sure.
But it's a terrible place to have it because inevitably it's going to leak at some point or another. Yeah. And so all of our HVAC, or for the majority, HVAC is going to be up there. Your water heaters are going to be up there. Your electrical, your plumbing. So you have all your major systems that are going to be up in the attic, which is terrible, especially in the summer, because that's where you're going to want to spend a good amount of time. And so I've trained my guys to just go up there, take a bunch of pictures because it gets too dangerous in the summer, and come back down in the air. It gets too hot. Yeah. Come back in the air conditioning and start writing your report from those pictures, and then go back up if you need to.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Wow.
Okay. And just curious, how do you guys replace your water heaters?
By hand.
Okay, all right. So you got big, strong people who just carry them right up into the attic.
I mean, an empty water heater is not that heavy. Like, I just lifted my 50-gallon tank all by myself. So I had I got my Jeep straps and then used the purlin and then just started
Like a pulley system.
Yeah, speak for yourself, Will, because I've seen you. You can bench about 600 pounds, I think. So he's not speaking for most people, I think.
There's no way I'm moving a water heater out of an attic by myself. No way.
No, but two people will easily bring it up there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Gosh. No, okay. Do you have plumbing that goes through the attic space too? Because I remember a while ago when there was that freak kind of winter storm that went through Texas and the South, and a lot of places had burst water pipes. So do you have a lot of plumbing that goes through the attic space too?
Most of it, yeah. So like in my house, so my house is 12 years old. So new construction, and I had to replace a roof, going back to that. It's not anymore, 12 years old. But so you have the water coming in, we had our main water shutoff valve is in one of the kids' closets, and then goes straight up into the attic, then kind of goes everywhere, and then comes back down in the laundry room, actually comes back in the laundry room for the manifold because it's PEX that we have. And then everything is back up in the attic and through the walls, and primarily inside walls. So they try to not put too much water in the exterior walls, which I think is a good idea.
And why do they not put it in the exterior wall?
Freezing conditions, if it ever happens.
So you do see some freezing conditions occasionally?
I mean, rarely, not enough, but like on when Snowmageddon, happened in Texas, that shut the entire state down, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, you guys had like half an inch. It was devastating, I heard.
It's maybe on the north side, we almost had nothing down here. But it froze, and we're just not used to it. We can deal with 120-degree weathers, but we can't deal with 10 degrees.
Yeah.
Well, and who needs a water heater when you've got your water piping running through a 150-degree attic? You just turn on your faucet and you got hot water.
So, and the reverse is true as well. We don't have cold water in the summer. So, fun fact.
That's
I had so I have this family in Finland. So they're pretty much my family. They adopted me when I moved out there. And so my Finnish mom came with my Finnish sister, and they were visiting. And so my Finnish mom is, getting water at the sink. And she goes, "Hey, Will, what side is the cold water on?" I said, "Gaia, it's August. There is no cold water in summer over here. It just doesn't
warm
exist.
And hot.
It's warm."
Warm and hotter.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's completely different from how we do it. Since we have basements here in Minnesota, obviously, all of our plumbing is running through kind of conditioned space, and it's coming from a ground that's frozen. So you turn on the cold water and you've got cold water here.
Yeah. See, our ice bath challenges, like we've got to keep putting ice, into it. You guys just turn your faucet on.
Yeah, we're ready to go, and you are exactly right. You're not exaggerating with that.
Mm-hmm. Well, going back to the attic, some more kind of technical questions. I'm just curious: are a lot of attics vented or not vented? Then, since they have ductwork and mechanicals and stuff located in them,
we are seeing more and more closed off attics with the spray, the avenue of spray foam insulation. So, for example, and it's open spray foam, open cell
spray foam. Yeah. And is that on the attic floor, or are they installing it on the underside of the roof deck?
On the underside of the roof deck, yeah.
Okay.
So my house, for example, I have it in the walls and in the roof deck. So it's all air conditioned, essentially.
So you're bringing that open cell versus closed cell.
Yeah.
So you know how up in the north, so where you guys are at, you want your class 1 or class 2 vapor barrier to be on the inside. So you've got your drywall, and then you've got your moisture air barrier right there. For us, it has to be on the outside.
Okay.
Because you need that moisture to transfer straight through the wall as it goes through. Otherwise, it's going to stay trapped in there, and then mold starts happening. So if you have closed cell up against your decking, then all of a sudden you get that moisture that accumulates between your closed cell and your roof deck, and then condensation happens, and then mold, eventually occurs in that area.
So what you're saying is you don't want a vapor barrier right on the underside of the roof deck. You want, in your climate where it's hot, humid, you want that vapor barrier on the outside of the house so that hot, humid air isn't coming through the building assembly. As your air conditioning, that vapor drive is from more to less, from hot to cold. So you want to keep that humidity out, and that having closed cell is problematic when it's installed even on the roof deck. You're saying
Yep.
you're finding mold between the closed cell spray foam and the wood roof sheathing.
Yep.
Is that something that's been, you guys have uncovered that in the last like 5, 10, 20 years of doing that? You've seen enough problems with closed cell on the underside of the roof deck that you just don't do it anymore. They're using open
No,
cell?
so I think one, why we don't see it as often down here probably is the cost, maybe.
Okay.
But just so I'll go back. So I read a ton on building science when I first got into the home inspection industry, and I was doing it even more in the log house industry. So I'd been studying, spray foam, especially because Germany adopted it really early on. So I'm talking about, decades ago. And I started noticing how construction was very different in the north than it was down here. So in France, you actually have 2 layers of house wrap. You have one on the outside, one on the inside. Versus down in the south, our air barrier is going to be the drywall. We consider that enough. Okay. And so all of a sudden, I had to retrain my thought process on building science in the south. And then I started, reading more about open cell versus closed cell and realizing, man, that closed cell is just not allowing the moisture to go through properly. It's not allowing it. And so that could create issues. So my guess is we don't see it because other people smarter than me started analyzing that, a long time ago. So yeah, we don't see. Mm-hmm. Now, I have seen other, companies who are starting to do the spray foam where they advertise the closed cell. No, it's a much better product. I don't know how long they're going to last, honestly. And I have I don't remember ever inspecting a house with closed cell either. So,
okay.
But yeah, there is a big issue with moisture transfer down in the south. That's your main goal. Essentially, it's managing that moisture more than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you're trying to analyze, the durability of a house and you're thinking about, how to make sure it performs well and lasts a long time, you have to think about moisture and all the different ways that moisture moves through the house and how it attacks the house. And I mean, obviously rain, you don't want gaps and cracks and stuff like that for bulk water to get in. But, in our climate, we have to think about indoor humidity. And when it's really cold outside, we don't want leaks and cracks in the building envelope to let that humidity into the walls and into the attic. But down where you are, it's the exact opposite. You don't want to be pulling in that humid air into your building envelope.
Right.
So do you guys have a lot of problems with mold and moisture where you are? And what do you typically look for? What are the typical problems that you see?
So it's not uncommon to go into a coat closet and you start smelling something or you look straight up. So when I was being trained, 16 years ago now to become a home inspector, the first thing that our trainer said was, when you open up a closet, look straight up. That's the first thing you do. You want to see the ceiling because that's where you're going to find a lot of hidden leaks or moisture issues or whatnot. So, closed coat closet will most likely have issues. What mold would look like on the registers. So if your HVAC system isn't able to keep up, you'll see a lot of just condensation dripping from the registers, and ultimately that's going to lead to mold. Yeah, I mean, it's and then any leaks, you'll find moisture stains, and then all of a sudden that if it's an active leak, that'll turn into mold pretty quickly. So that's the thing, is down here, it's going to turn into mold really fast if you don't take care of it. As soon as possible.
Well, yeah, and it's, I guess with the newer construction, then moving the insulation up to the roof deck, the underside of the roof deck, you're turning that attic space into conditioned, in theory, living space, and so you're bringing inside, that more controlled climate, so you probably have less chance of having condensation issues. Maybe not.
Still not. So we have whole neighborhoods who are having issues very close to where I live. And I started inspecting houses in there 10 years ago and started seeing issues. And I was already noting things before they even became an issue, not realizing how big of an impact it was going to become. But I started noticing some HVAC systems not having any vents and returns in the attic. And I would write that up. And the builder would say, no, there's enough air transference, through the ceiling, that we don't need to air condition that. So fast forward a few years later, now a lot of these houses are becoming moldy. Starts in the attic and then just gradually comes down. And what we also realized was the HVAC industry did not change fast enough for the building codes that had changed. And so the HVAC system was undersized for a lot of these houses, or oversized, and not running long enough to pull the moisture out.
Yeah.
We're still seeing problems, brand new neighborhoods that are having mold issues, and they can't find the source. And so to me, it just, by elimination, to me, it's the HVAC system that's just not keeping up. Then on top of that, the houses have become so closed, so hermetic,
Airtight.
so airtight, that they don't have enough, makeup air that's coming in either. So I think again, the HVAC world hasn't adapted well to the building codes that have changed in the South, at least.
Now, in Minnesota, anytime we build a house, we need to put in these devices that bring in fresh air and exhaust stale air, called an air exchanger. More specific terms would be like a heat recovery ventilator, or occasionally, once in a blue moon, we'll see an energy recovery ventilator. Do you guys require any type of air exchange system?
So for many years we didn't. I think we're starting to see that in the brand new construction. Even my neighborhood that was built, I think they started building it probably 15, 20 years ago now. So we saw the progress of, just traditional construction down here to my part of the neighborhood was the very first portion that had spray foam insulation. So we have our spray foam. We have our HVAC system that's a lot smaller than traditional insulation, but it's keeping up. But then you go into the new neighborhoods and all of a sudden they're having mold issues. It's like, okay, what changed in their construction practice between my zone and then their zone that's just across the street, to where they finally had to add in dehumidifiers on top of the system that they had. Mm-hmm. And I think the only fresh air intake that I have is over my garage, because I have an apartment over there, and I don't even understand why it's there, because it's an electric furnace. It's not even a gas furnace. So I don't have a system in my house that brings in fresh air from the outside, because honestly, any air from the outside in the summer is going to be more humid than anything else.
It's adding to the humidity load. Yeah.
So it would have to go through a heat exchanger type of system in order to dry it up, but at least it'd be fresh. So
you're hitting the nail on the head with, I think, one of the biggest problems that we're going to start coming across in this, in this housing industry. As we build houses that are more energy efficient, they're going to be more airtight, better insulated, all of these things. And we can have AC systems that are even sized properly. But when it's so energy efficient, the load is so small, especially as we start improving the energy efficiency of our light bulbs and our appliances that even used to create internal heat gains. Like that's even a smaller load now. Yeah. So you size these, our HVAC, systems, and they provide enough cooling for the space, but it doesn't run long enough to take the humidity out, especially in these humid areas. So what do we do next? Okay, well, we're going to have to add some sort of central dehumidifier system, dehumidification system to these houses, so that they don't have these condensation and moisture issues like you're talking about.
Yeah. And I'd be curious to know why, just in my neighborhood, why across the street they're having issues that we're not seeing. So
that's very interesting. Yeah.
So, did they change their whole HVAC system with something that's, is it a different brand? Is it size smaller? What exactly is going on? So I don't know if you guys, so in our area, clients are often asking, is the AC sized properly for the house? So we used to have this quick mental calculation of, 500 square feet per ton with traditional construction. Well, with the spray foam, it goes out the window.
Right.
You can't use that anymore.
Yeah.
But nobody has a rule of thumb on how to calculate. And plus, on top of that, we're home inspectors. We're not there to kind of, give a specialty answer, but at the same time, if we can quickly identify to say, I think that unit is undersized,
Yeah.
you might have an issue.
You can kind of, you can have an idea. It's like if you're inspecting a 1,200 square foot house and you got a 6-ton unit, you can kind of look at it and you go, this ain't right.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
The extremes at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've came into arguments with builders before, and very rare. Like, I don't argue with people. It's like, all right, he's the builder. You can sue him later if you want to. Just, this is my recommendation.
Yeah.
But I was inspecting. Can I name like construction company names or?
Nobody listens. It's fine. You can say anything you want.
No. So anyway, I was doing a home inspection for the VP of one builder, but he was buying a house of his competitor.
Oh my.
Yeah. And so it's probably good that I'm not announcing who is who and
probably
what. Yeah. But I told him, and this is at the time I think it was 4,300 square foot home, and I'm looking at the HVAC system, and they had one, and I said, I think you're undersized. I think you need 2 units on this. Plus, it's a 2-story house. It's like, I don't care if you have split zone systems. Man, that house that big, you need a couple units. And so he argued back and forth with the builder, and it took months. And finally, the builder ended up putting a second one in. So fast forward, I did other inspections in that area that only had 1 unit, and they were having mold issues ultimately because it just was not pulling enough. And so, that quick calculation can potentially do good. At the same time, I'm sure HVAC techs hate us for that.
Well, there's so much that goes into it too, like orientation of the house, land, is there shading? Are there trees? Occupant behavior, and what types of insulation do you have? All of those things that can really change the load.
So the cool thing, part of my job when I was in Finland, so I did a market study for France because we were exporting into France. And I was reading up a lot on energy efficient homes, and they have, passive houses, and now they have active houses to where now the house is actually producing energy.
Cool.
And so during the passive house research I was doing, so this goes back 20, 25 years, I was reading up on the orientation of the house and how to put different rooms in different areas. And so there's a whole science behind it. And so we could literally create homes that are much healthier ultimately, but we're not because it's cheaper to do it the way we are doing it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Again, back to the whole not having the incentive, right? And
exactly.
Yeah. That's the challenge. Okay, so you see a lot of condensation and mold issues in houses where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
What other kinds of typical issues would you say are kind of, that you run into a lot in Texas that we haven't touched on?
So foundation issue is going to be a big one. So, our soil is clay, so it moves a lot. If you're on a pier and beam, you're definitely going to have issues. Even after it's fixed, it still doesn't look good. But then your slab on grade. So we use post-tension slab down here, and that really is the ultimate type of construction foundation in order to kind of fight that. But you still will have problems eventually. And so we actually teach our clients how to water their foundation. And when they go, what do you mean water? It's like, you literally have to water your foundation during the summer because you want that soil to compress your side of the foundation. Like, you want that soil to be there. And so, and so we tell them, like, you don't want, you put a soaker hose around your foundation, put it on a timer that will turn on, every so often, during the day, maybe once a day, maybe 3 times a week. And you let it soak for, 30 minutes. It's
oh my gosh.
I know, it's crazy.
Okay. So now
I'm losing my mind.
Well, okay, me too. So let me just think this through out loud. So concrete is porous, and moisture will move through concrete if it's in contact with wet soil through capillary action. So you're basically humidifying your house potentially. Is that happening? Do you guys have vapor barriers under the slab?
Yeah, you have to have a 6 mil vapor barrier under the slab. So between the soil and your concrete.
There's a capillary break and a vapor barrier. Yeah. Okay.
And so what we tell our clients is, like, you don't want your soaker hose completely against your foundation. You actually want it about 12 to 18 inches off, because you want that soil basically to be wet from the foundation to the soaker hose, but also beyond. So you have more soil that's compressing that slab, that's keeping that slab from moving. And so, yeah, your water bill typically goes a little bit up during the summer.
Would you say that you don't recommend gutters where you are because you actually want that water around the foundation?
No, so you still want those gutters because it is a massive amount of water. So when it rains down here, it pours. And so you want that water to move to the street as fast as possible. It's still going to get wet. It's raining around. And the other thing is, with your downspout extensions, moving that water away, then hopefully you have the same equal amount of water, that's going on the soil completely around the foundation. Versus if you have a gutter, a downspout just right there and not on the other side of the house, then does that create issues with too much water on one side and not enough on the other side?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I have another technical question that's completely changing the subject. But I know we're running short on time, and we have a lot more that we could cover. My two main questions. One's about plumbing and one is about HVAC. So let's maybe do the plumbing first. I'm wondering, do you guys have problems with PEX where you are too? Is that starting to become recognized as a defect? Are insurance companies having issues with it at all?
So again, I think Florida is the main state that has issues with plumbing and weather. And so we don't see as many issues. And even the Chinese drywall, we didn't have it in Texas the way that Florida had it. So I think I saw it maybe twice in my 15-year career as a home inspector. So, but no issues with PEX. We don't even see PB very often. I think I've seen it maybe one time. And so, we train our inspectors how to identify it. But it wouldn't surprise me if, they do an inspection and they kind of look at it and go, okay, that's different. I need to send a picture to the group to double check to make sure it's PB.
Sure.
Yeah.
Polybutylene. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. And what about HVAC? Do you guys predominantly have heat pumps there that are doing heating and cooling? It sounds like you don't really need too much heating most of the year. So you're focusing on air conditioning. How are houses kept comfortable and cool?
98% of the time it's going to be a split system HVAC. So yeah, heat pumps are quite rare in this area. You still find them. The reality is they become super expensive. And even if you have an electric furnace, that becomes expensive to run during the winter. As short of our winter is, just that electricity is going to go up pretty high.
What do you have for heat then?
Gas.
You still have gas furnaces?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. Yep. I'm surprised.
A lot of electric furnaces. We have a whole city that's all they allowed was electric furnaces, which is weird. And so my area is
newer houses that have electric furnaces.
This I think was built in the late 1970s, early 80s, and all of their houses are electric. Yeah.
So is that because they just didn't have natural gas coming into the city, period, or what?
No,
wasn't there the fuel embargo, the oil embargo happening?
Maybe so during that time. It's possible.
Yeah.
Or they had a really good deal on electric furnaces. And then
really good salesperson who influenced the local building officials.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most houses are still running on natural gas then, and they have a split system for heating and cooling, like a separate condenser outside that delivers the cooling. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward. We have to teach our guys how to look for that reversing valve in order to determine what kind of system it is. But we almost never see it.
Okay.
Here, so.
Yeah, I'm surprised. It seems like a prime environment for a heat pump, but okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Florida has a bunch, I think, heat pumps. We don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet. Yeah, not yet. I guess Texas is known for its oil though, right? So why would we change if
Right.
Again, back to incentives.
Absolutely.
Follow the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But
Okay, so I could keep talking to you for hours, Will, and we could dive into a lot more things. But for the sake of time here, we should probably wrap this up. Reuben, do you have any other questions that you want to ask Will today? We didn't cover.
I've been hitting them as we've been going along. Nope.
Okay.
Nope, I think we're good. Thank you.
Perfect. Will, is there anything else that you want to mention today that we didn't ask you? Any questions that we didn't ask you that you want to tell our listeners about Houston homes that they should know?
Get a home inspection. Absolutely. Call Redfish, get a home inspection. And because the houses age so quickly, like you want to be able to know as much as possible. So, and then on top of that, there are certain things that your home inspector might be able to help you out with and educating you, what kind of electric panel do you have? Because we are starting to see what Florida sees with their insurances that are starting to reject certain materials in your homes.
Yeah.
And so
Really?
Get an inspector who kind of knows a little bit about that. I mean, it's not our role to tell them, anything about the insurance, but at the same time, if you can tell them, hey, you have an FPE panel, you might want to talk to your insurance company to see if they'll cover it. Or you have, we don't really see lead plumbing down here, but if you have that, or if you have cast iron pipes as your drains, is that going to create an issue?
Or if you have a roof that's over 12 years old.
So, in my office, we have a real estate brokerage that's here as well. And we talk on a regular basis. They're some of my best friends. And they now tell their clients when they buy a house, like, okay, we need to know the age of the roof, because if it's if it's over 15 years old, we will negotiate a new roof.
Oh, wow.
That's how crazy it is, because insurance companies are starting to say no to 15-year-old roofs. It's crazy.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
It is, that's what we're hearing, and it hasn't hit us in Minnesota yet, but it's definitely, we're starting to see that trend.
Yeah.
So it's only a matter of time, I think.
And Will, if people want to find you, how can they find you online?
Absolutely. You can Google us. So it's redfishinspections.com, or you can give us a call at 713-568-8184. And we will answer any questions. We are in the Houston market, Greater Houston market, the Dallas market, San Antonio market, and we're moving into other Texas markets next year.
Fantastic.
Wow. Exciting.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much, Will.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Appreciate having you on. Always good to chat with you. And for the listeners, if you got any questions for us, for me and Tessa, you're welcome to reach out. You can email us at podcast@structuretech.com, and we will catch you next time.